All right, I think we'll go ahead and get things rolling here. Just to introduce myself. My name is Blake Ruane, content team lead here at Spinutech. And just for any first timers joining us today, I want to tell you a little bit about Spinutech. So we're a full service digital agency that specializes in building full funnel strategies that drive traffic and convert leads. We've got offices in Cedar Falls and Des Moines, Iowa, and Tampa, Florida, as well as remote team members in more than 30 states. In total, I think we're clocking in at about 172 members these days. And today our presenters are going to be sharing their secrets to annual planning. It's obviously a very critical process that sets the table for the next year, but not everyone approaches it the same way. So today you'll get a peek behind the curtain at how we do it here at Spinutech. So let me go ahead and introduce our experts. Today you'll be hearing from two of our account directors. We've got Mackenzie Baker and Dana Kelly here with us. One note before we start, I just want to say feel free to submit questions throughout the presentation. You will notice the chat features for today's event is disabled, but we'll be monitoring the Q&A feature throughout and just plan to leave time at the end of the webinar for any questions that you may have. So enough of me. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it up to Mac here to get us started.
Yeah, thanks, Blake. So excited to be here today, you guys. As Blake mentioned, Dana and I are going to cover how we approach annual planning here at Spinutech and some best practices to keep in mind. We know not everyone probably thinks it's an exciting topic. I hope that we could all agree, as we noted, that it's an important one. Dana is going to kick off by starting with the basics, the who, what, when, where, why, when it comes to your marketing plan. These are some things that can often be overlooked. I'll then cover specific steps that we do here with our clients at Spinutech, and then we'll end on what you should expect of your agency and some digital marketing trends that should be on your plan as you head into 2024. We all know annual planning is important, like I just said, and it's something that I personally love to do. I think author Alan Lincoln said it well. Planning is bringing the future into the present so that you can do something about it now. This is your chance to pause with your team and really reevaluate your marketing plan. Now, to get our clients and internal teams excited for planning, we remind them that change isn't easy and it can be uncomfortable. But change is so necessary for success, right? And at Spinutech, one of our core values is to get better every day. And that means pushing ourselves to always learn and evolve. Now, annual planning gives you the opportunity to stay competitive and unique. And this means learning from the past year, aligning on expectations and goals, and ensuring you're looking outside of your company. Finally, that allows you to expand your strategies and your plan. Now I'm going to hand over to Dana, who's going to cover the who, what, when, where, and why of planning.
Thank you, Mackenzie. So as we begin the annual planning process, it presents us with the opportunity to take a step back and complete a full business review. Think of this as the pre-planning initiative and the information you should be able to speak to prior to beginning the planning conversations. The short and sweet of it is getting back to the basics and being able to answer the who, what, where, when, and why of your business. Some of you may know this as the 5 W's. Pure Marketing 101. This is a very elementary practice, but it's extremely important when applied correctly. Knowing the 5 W's inside and out helps to ensure our strategy is on target from audience segmentation to messaging. While this information doesn't necessarily change much year to year, it does allow us to realign on your core business offering and uncover any new changes on the horizon. The 5 W's include being able to know and answer these 5 basic questions about your business. Who is your audience? What is your product? Where is your target market? When are you meeting your customers? Why your brand? We'll dig into these a little deeper in each of the next following slides. The who. Here's where we really get to know your audience. So questions to answer include: what are the demographics and what makes up your audience, such as their age, what interests them, or what do they like to do? What motivates these individuals? What are their lifestyles and habits? What do they do for a living, or what would an average job title be? And then, do you have any existing audience personas, and do these need to be updated to realign with any shifts to your target audience? Now moving along to the what. Here's where we really get to know your widget. So simply, what are you selling? This allows us to discuss your core offering. This equates to understanding the exact product or service you are selling. This also includes detailing any features of your product. And then you can also realign on price points and the products that fall into these categories. Next, we dig into the where. This pertains to your target market. Some things to consider here include, where in the user journey are you meeting your customer? How do your customers get your product? Do you have a physical storefront? And if so, where? And then where can your audience actually interact with your product? Now we move on to the when. And the question to answer here are, when are you meeting your customers? Things to dig into would be, do you have a seasonal business? And if so, what does that look like as things ebb and flow throughout the year? And then to tack on to that, what are the peak times of day, week, or even month that you're seeing that heightened demand? And then I'd also encourage you to define a typical search term a user might be using when they're looking for your product or service. And then lastly, we'll wrap it up with the why. So this helps to answer the question, why would a customer go with your brand? And this really sums up your value proposition. So what are your brand differentiators? Where do you stack up in the competitive landscape? So what is that comparison? What are those reasons to believe? And then what value are you providing your customers? So now let's go ahead and recap what we learned. So once you're able to answer your 5 W's, you should be able to clearly articulate your audience, the product, and the need. So first off, for your audience, you should know what their motivations are as they interact with your brand. Secondly, for the product, now that we know your core offering, how do we tailor messaging to our users? And how do we create consistency across our digital ecosystem? And then lastly, the need. This really allows us to meet our audience where they're at in the funnel, and validating our media mix aligns nicely. Okay, humor me for one moment. Let's go ahead and ask ourselves the question, do I know my 5 W's? If the answer is maybe or even no, I would encourage you to take this as an opportunity to work with your team and have these fully fleshed out before you even begin the planning discussions. Do your homework and realign on your 5 W's ensures all stakeholders are in lockstep as you enter the planning discussions. And with that, I'll pass it back to Mackenzie to take you through the strategic planning process and approach here at Spinutech.
Yes, thanks, Dana. So I'd like to think that how we do planning here at Spinutech is a well-kept secret, or maybe a recipe that no one can replicate. It might be, but I will say at the end of the day, we do follow the age-old process for strategic planning. However, it doesn't have to be something you dread, and we make sure it's a simple process that is efficient for everyone involved. I like to say we leave no stone unturned, and we do that by laying a strong foundation, setting the vision for the team, ideating and collaborating across many groups, and finally, preparing the details for a flawless execution and measurement of success. Now, before you can start thinking of new ideas or what you want to change, we like to roll up our sleeves and really analyze the data and insights that we have to help lay that foundation and direction for the plan. Now, this means identifying what went well, the areas of opportunity, and then more importantly, the challenges that are holding you back from those opportunities. We bring our entire team together of strategists and analysts to look at performance trends and how they compare to our forecasts. This could include year over year, period over period, to see what is impacting performance and the bottom line. Now, we know COVID changed performance trends for many businesses. So it could also entail setting aside certain years or data sets that may be out of the norm. But you or your agency should be able to forecast your media performance and then report back on how you did to those goals and what impacted them. We also look across all media channels to see what needs to be optimized by those channels specifically, and also by the areas of the marketing funnel that you're focusing on. Media channels are changing daily with new capabilities and offerings. That's why we partner really closely with media vendors such as Meta and Google, because it's important to know what you're doing now and what's still out there to test. It's also about plotting all of your touch points along the customer journey and then layering in creative messaging, digital touch points, and website experiences. Our team is constantly testing what message, landing page, promotion is moving the needle, and you should be taking those insights into your plan for next year. And finally, we want to look at how we stack up against the competitors. Now, this can encompass an in-depth competitive analysis or a down and dirty review of what your competitors are doing from a digital marketing standpoint. Now, we have an understanding of where we've been. It's now looking at where we want to go. Many clients already have their business and marketing objectives defined, but we can also help our clients craft these statements. No matter how you get to it, the marketing objective is something we use as our rally cry with our team. It's that North Star that we can all easily memorize and know where we need to go. Here's an example that we got from a client. Their business objective was, through new client growth and increased client retention, we will increase revenue by 35% over last year by the end of 2024. Some good growth goals, right? So we sat down with marketing and said, what can we do to help hit that? And we defined that we could support the new client growth through increasing our brand awareness, our upper funnel media budget by 50%, shift then lead generation, low funnel efforts to focus on then the higher revenue clients. And doing all of this with hitting an average of $150 cost per lead in 2024 would allow us to hit that 35% and the profitability that we would need to. So we all know these need to be specific, measurable, attainable, and time-based. Okay, we got that out of the way. My favorite part, the brainstorming. So we know where we've been, we know what we need to achieve. Now we can be creative. So we wanted to give you guys some brainstorming best practices. We do brainstorming all the time. And it doesn't just have to be at planning. We love to do it internally with teams. We love to do it with clients. But first and foremost, you need to get all the best minds together and make sure to include people outside of your direct teams. We really push our clients to pull in product, IT, analytics, finance. It's important to have all those minds at the table. Now, no one likes a meeting when you aren't prepared or you don't know what is expected. So make sure to have a clear agenda and any prep work out for the brainstorm and know how you're going to run the workshop. And this is where no idea is a bad idea. I laugh because I love a parking lot. If an idea comes in, go ahead and put it in the parking lot to not derail the meeting, and you can come back to it later. But we really want to push ourselves and our teams that this is where innovation comes and where we need to get ahead of our ever-changing customer needs and where and how they're interacting with our brands. This also includes those come to Jesus conversations on those challenges that you have to overcome. This is the time to have the hard conversations. At the end of the day, the output is that prioritized list of initiatives. So after the brainstorm, what we do is we organize our ideas and ladder them into strategies and up to the objectives. We then plot them against a chart of level to effort and level of impact. This allows you to see what are those low-hanging fruit items that maybe have high impact, but not a large lift to get done, or those larger items that are a large impact, but also a large lift that you have to focus on too to get you to the 3 or 5 year plan that you have. Now, there are going to be items that fall into low impact and high effort. Those might be ones you put in the parking lot. As we organize these ideas, AKA the strategies, we again make sure they ladder up to what we need to achieve. If they're not meeting your marketing objective, table it, come back to it later. Finally, you should start thinking about how you're going to organize and measure success for these items. And lastly, like I said, easy four-step process. We finally put pen to paper and bring it all together. So with our prioritized strategies that ladder up to the objectives, we now pull it into a roadmap and define each of those objectives with the owner, timeline, budget, and next steps. Here's where Spinutech really helps set those measurable goals and forecasted KPIs to ensure that we can show impact on the objective and the bottom line. We also plot our plan against the customer journey so we can ensure all cross-channel synergies are working together. There are many different outputs of a plan, and we work closely with our clients to ensure they have exactly what they need when presenting to internal stakeholders. This slide shows a nice example of a roadmap that we would provide at the end of planning. I'm going to end on with a case study, an example of one of our clients of what came out of their annual planning. So this client came to us with the following goals. They wanted to, one, increase traffic volume to their site. They wanted to increase online reservations then once on the site, and also increase online rental completions. So through planning and a competitive analysis, we came up with a three-pronged approach from a strategy standpoint. We use SEO and social strategies to increase the quality of traffic to the site. So first check, getting people there. We then use SEO to enhance the on-site and content and increase page speed. And finally, we use CRO, conversion rate optimization, to increase the conversion rates for both reservations and online rentals, AKA making the website experience better. So the output of it, and we were really happy and excited, was we saw a 12% increase in same-day show-ups and a 38% increase in SEO-specific driven reservations. And finally, this client, they were an early adapter to TikTok, which also gained a large following, leading to enhanced traffic and brand engagement. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Dana, who's going to cover what you should expect from your agency partner.
Thank you, Mackenzie. So in the following slides, we just want to discuss how to get the most out of your agency partner and what you should expect as you work with them in the planning process. So this really includes three key areas. The first is just kicking off and leading planning discussions. Then secondly, being focused on your business growth. And then lastly, establishing performance benchmarks. So really, to kick us off, your agency partner should be leading the planning discussions. To think of this on the most basic level, your agency should be getting your team to start thinking about planning. So this really includes prepping your team for the process, getting everyone excited about planning, coordinating, collecting feedback on current state, vision, and even the process from the prior year. It also include coordinating the actual planning kickoff with your team, outlining the various planning phases and timeline. It should be discussing scope support. So are there any new resources that are needed or even changes in your team's resourcing? They should be confirming all the final deliverables. And then lastly, your agency should know your 5 W's. Remember, this breaks down your core business offering, and they should be able to speak to this just as well, if not better, than anyone on your team. So now moving along to the second area of focus, your agency partners should be growth-oriented. Your partners should be able to summarize your areas of opportunity and what changes may be needed to drive your growth goals. This means bringing you new and fresh ideas to align with your business objectives. This includes alignment on your strategic vision and knowing how to get you there, along with defining your tactical roadmap. This may be detailing a testing roadmap or even surfacing testing opportunities. And then lastly, being able to pinpoint modifications that might be needed to your media mix. And then lastly, the third area we have highlighted here that you should lean on your agency partner for is establishing benchmarks. Here is where your partner should be able to clearly define what success looks like and how it will be measured. Things that they should support include developing forecasting for your core KPIs, definition around how to measure success, outlining the reporting cadence. So just having a basic understanding of when you need to check back in. And then lastly, understanding how to know when the plan is successful. Most importantly, how do we know how to celebrate if we don't know what the end target is? And now this brings us to our last section for today. So here we just wanted to highlight a few evolving trends in the digital landscape. This gets a little lengthy, so stick with me. So these are just a few topics our team has addressed within our clients' plans, and we want to continue to discuss during our planning meetings. So today we're going to touch on data privacy, vertical video, AI, OCI, and attribution models. So first off, data privacy. It really is more than just securing PII now. So for digital marketing, this equates to changes in tracking. So we have entered an era of a cookieless future, and there has been significant changes within the last few years that have really pushed us to rethink how we're using and storing data. For instance, iOS 17 updates and stripping of UTM parameters and the impact to look back attribution windows. Big tech has continued to evolve to combat these challenges, such as adaptation of GA4, along with CAPI for social. Just a few things to think about for data privacy include, are you set up for client or server-side tagging? Is your GA4 environment set up appropriately? And are you reporting on these metrics? So overall, the sooner you can transition to these best practices, the more protected you will be as the space continues to advance. Okay, that's number one. Going on to number two. So now for social, we're using the tagline, organic is back. So right now we see users' consumption of vertical videos continue to rise. The takeaway here is that 2024 is the year of social as the search engine. It's more important than ever for your SEO and social teams to work closely as users want peer trusted search results. We see more users searching on TikTok, Shorts, and Reels to find authentic answers. And the shelf life of this content is longer, so it's a great chance to lean into vertical video and put together a thoughtful testing plan for next year. Next up, we have AI capabilities. So this is quickly expanding into everything we touch as marketers, and it's more expansive than just chat GPT. So it's leveraged for image optimizations to paid bidding algorithms, and it's important to keep AI solutions top of mind as it's a changing landscape and it's changing rapidly. So lean on your agency partner and identify solutions that best fit your needs to maximize efficiency. Leverage these tools to your advantage because you can bet your competition is. So let's work smarter, not harder. And the next trend is offline conversions integration, or more commonly referred to as OCI. So this is an overarching theme we're seeing in the paid media landscape. This really involves taking first-party data and looping this back into your paid media campaigns to better form your bidding algorithm. So a specific example of this would be connecting your CRMs, such as Salesforce, to your Google Ads account. The level of effort here greatly depends on your system infrastructure, but can be extremely beneficial when it comes to teaching the algorithm more about your audience. So the results here are not only efficiency, but also the expanded reach of your campaigns to drive growth and revenue. Okay, last one, we have multi-touch attribution. So simply put, this is really looking at all of the touch points that ultimately lead to a conversion. This is expanding the way you are evaluating performance outside of last touch attribution. This allows us to see how the full funnel is playing together and the lift realized from your broad reach tactics. I would urge you to start these conversations with your agency partner and understand how this information will be used to inform your plans moving forward. Okay, and with that, I'll pass it back over to Mackenzie to take you through a final recap of our discussions from today.
Yes. Well, I hope you learned something, maybe, reminded yourself of some things that you've known but need to pick back up. And I hope at the end of the day, you're a little more excited about planning. So what to prepare? Like Dana said, know your 5 W's. I challenge each of you right now, or maybe later, write down what they are and make sure you've got those in a good spot. Align on timeline and scope parameters. Understanding your budget early on is important. Have those conversations. Make sure to review that historical data like we talked about. How are you performing today to know then how you can get better for tomorrow? And ensure that you're defining those business and marketing objectives so your whole team and organization knows what your end goal is. When finalizing those plans, do these plans get you a step closer to that North Star? Do you know then how you're going to measure the success, right? And lastly, who's responsible for what in the roadmap? Having a good plan to execute is needed no matter how great the strategy is. With that, I'm going to hand it back to Blake for questions.
All right. Thanks for wrapping things up, Mac. That was just a great summary of today's conversation. I know we got a few minutes left. We do have several questions that came through during the presentation today, so just want to go ahead and jump right in. I think the first question we have here is, how do you approach planning when there are multiple agencies involved and you're only responsible for a portion of the marketing plan?
I can take that one. So that's a great question. And at Spinutech, I'd say that's probably the case for most of our clients. Really the same process applies to really kind of what we covered today. It's just kind of adding on that additional layer. So I would say the big things to call out here is just ensuring, everyone clearly knows what the timeline is and what those roles and responsibilities are between the agency partners. And then last thought here is just making sure that you're reviewing the plan holistically together. I mean, that's a very important step, and you really shouldn't be afraid to ask questions. Really, at the end of the day, it's just making sure strategies are cohesive and really play nicely together.
Thanks, Dana. Next question is, what is generally the hardest part of planning, or where do you generally see plans fall short?
I can take that one, Dana, since you took the last one. I would say usually it comes down to there's never a lack of ideas. So it's really figuring out in the brainstorming phase and defining the strategies and the tactics, making sure that they are truly laddering up to what you need to achieve, but then also thinking through your budget parameters and how are you going to show success. An idea can be really cool, but can you afford it? You're going to have to put everything you have into that one idea. Probably doesn't make sense, right? So really thinking through, can we hit some of the low-hanging fruit, but then also those future forward ideas that you do need to invest time into, like I said, to get you to that 3-5 year plan. So it's really about simplification, and it's something I'm tasking my team with this year of like, how can we put together really good plans that are simple at the end of the day of what we need to do. And again, we don't want to bite off more than we can chew.
Thanks, Mac. And we've got a minute left, so it makes sense to finish on a question that is time related. And this one is, what is the standard lead time for annual planning, or how long does it typically take you from start to finish?
I can take that one. Ooh, another good question. I would probably say the sooner the better. And it really depends on kind of your scope and planning requirements. So the biggest thing I can think about here is just making sure that you have ample performance data from, the current year to feed into the strategy for, the next year, but also giving your team enough, breathing room so that you still do have a solid plan in place as you, move into the start of the year. So generally speaking, I would say starting the conversations probably the end of Q3 should give you enough time to kind of work through those annual plans and be ready to go for the next year.
Awesome. Great questions. Great answers. Thanks, team. If we didn't get to your question today, you think of something later, you can always shoot us a note. The email address is here on the screen. Before we close up shop, just want to say thank you to our presenters today. And obviously, thank you to everyone who took time out of their day to join us. So I know everyone's busy, especially end of year. So I appreciate you joining us. But our next webinar is coming up in December. In that webinar, we'll have experts from across our agency weighing in on what they learned in 2023 and what you need to know for 2024 as it relates to SEO, content, paid media, social media, you name it. It's going to get covered. So not going to want to miss that one. And because you attended today's webinar, we'll email you with an invitation directly to that next one. So thank you again for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you in December.